All right, Santangelo's late-ish. We're all late. He's about to jump in. Hello to who's ever in here at the current moment. Milan Reports is back after the international break. We saw Alba in here already. Admiral's in here. Sorry if you didn't get the update that we had, Admiral, about it. No markers yet. I've been busy with my first week of my new job. Santangelo's in here. I'm just gonna wait until his thing loads in. How did Matt and I meet? I mean, it was just a post he had on Twitter about needing to go on a podcast, and I just graduated college, and I needed to do something instead of being a bum. So I said I have a podcast, and he joined it, and then we started doing podcasts since. It's about 4.5 years ago, I think, maybe, right?
Probably. Something like that, yeah.
It was during the Chinese summer, because they just kept buying everybody, and it was just like, yeah, I guess we got to keep going at this point because people listen, and it's basically what it was. I have to wear this wig for the rest of the month for every stream that we do. I'll keep it a pregame streams. Post game, I'll vary. This came in.
I gotta get mine still. I just got my paycheck this past week, and that was just serves as a good reminder for me to actually go buy that one after we get off.
I just what do you call that? I just started this week, and the checks come in on the 15th. So I gotta wait another couple weeks before I get anything of mine. So, I mean, like a couple people I talked to at work said, "Hey, it'll look nicer when the first one comes in, as opposed to just getting it in." Matt should color his hair. He's not gonna do that. No. International break is finally over. I think we should just mention what the whole schedule is going to kind of be like now for the podcast. Essentially, we're not really going to be able to do anything weekdays. And that's
unless
unfortunate.
It's like late evening, but that's even unlikely.
Late evening is not great for a lot of the people that watch this, including Vito, Weji, Ahmad as well. It's unfortunate, but I mean, hey, work is work. But we're obviously going to be here dedicated on the weekends. I get out at 6, so I'm even out later than Matt now. So even at post-match Champions League, I'll probably be able to do halftime stuff for. Strictly because it goes with my hand in hand with my work, so it's not gonna be an issue. But in terms of Milan Reports, I'll try and push Milan Reports as best I can during that time frame. But yeah, it's mostly gonna be whenever the match is on the weekend. We're going to be doing Saturday. Well, today we had to do it today because the match is on a Saturday. But most matches that are on Sundays, we're going to be doing previews on Saturdays, and then we'll have the post match on Sunday. But today is going to be a double dip of that when the game kicks off in about 4 hours or so. Yeah, just about 4 hours in time. Yeah, I mean, listen, Matt, injuries don't stop. First of all, I think that's kind of basically the first thing that we have to talk about. So, yeah, I mean, listen, this is we're going to be missing Rebic potentially for this one. Teo has COVID. Brahim tested positive for COVID. Mike is out for 2022. We'll start with Mike because that's the long-term issue at the current moment. We signed Mirante over the week because we need somebody. Jung Dahl is not ready. Plitzari wasn't even ready anyways, but he's also hurt. Yeah, it's Ciprian Tatarasanu and Antonio Mirante. Combined age for 70-something. I think it's 75 or 74 between the both of them. So short term with these goalkeeping options, are you okay with them? This is the one thing I've been a big critic of with Maldini is that I think if he messed up something, it was the backup goalkeeper position, and now Milan potentially could pay for it for the rest of 2021.
I mean, you ask me if I'm okay with it. Well, I have to be, right? Because frankly, the window's closed. You can't really go out and get anybody now, obviously, aside from anyone who's a free agent. Obviously, that prompted them to go and get Mirante, who's old, but it's an established keeper. not someone you maybe want to rely on for a sustained amount of time. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you don't really have a choice. And look, only time will tell. I know Mirante had a wonderful game against Milan last year in that Roma game where there was the Benacer penalty and Milan got kind of robbed there. They should have had a victory, but it was a draw. And Mirante was actually pretty good in that game. So in certain spells, I think that Mirante can be adequate enough to help Milan get results. Maybe games against like Verona. I know he's not playing this weekend, but Verona, some of these other mid-table teams that I think you'll be okay because our defense has been pretty solid for the most part.
Defense has been really good. I don't even consider like the 2 goals that we let up against Atalanta are like nothing. One was a foul and the other is like a penalty.
I think 5 goals conceded all season total.
In Serie A, you mean, right?
Yeah, in Serie A.
Yeah.
So we have a good defensive record, but that's gonna cast a broader and brighter light on the defense, right? Can they keep up this form? Can they ensure that we don't have to call on Mirante's number that much to the point where it becomes much of a problem or a concern? Like I think in a small amount of time, I do feel okay with Mirante. I have to be.
You have no
and
choice.
At the same time, I think you're kind of spot on there, right? Like there was the concern up front. We're getting a lot of older, like Jeru, Ivanovic, older strikers, older players, and there's going to be that risk of getting injuries and just wear and tear. You can kind of look at the same thing with goalkeeping. I know it's a freak sort of case here. Magnon, he's young. This kind of came out of nowhere.
I mean, listen, that was all from the Suarez thing, and it lingered. Whether or not we know the information from the staff, could they have identified this sooner? Because we're talking about 2 weeks of an international break. It cuts down in time. We could have maybe gotten him back sometime in December, but now you're looking at 2022. Matt, I think the biggest issue of it all, I agree with you on the front of Serie A stuff. It kind of throws Champions League out the window where you have to be perfect now. Yeah. Like Porto is much harder. Liverpool, Atletico, that was hard enough as it was.
Yeah.
Like Cipriani and Tatarusanu is going to be potentially starting 4 matches in the Champions League for Milan. What? Like that's scary. Same thing with Mirante as well. And it's no disrespect to these guys. They're professionals. They come in, they work hard. But if you told us prior to the season that the one player that's going to be out the longest so far is the goalkeeper, you would have just been like, okay, not really surprised by what's transpired the past 10 years.
And if you're kind of like in that that very minority small group of being pro GGO and you're still kind of just repping him heavy, you kind of feel like, not that you wish injury on anybody, but it's kind of like poetic justice for you because the guy that they brought in, he's been electric. He's been everything that Milan fans could have wanted in a replacement for GGO. And then he gets injured. Like a goalkeeper getting injured. Like that doesn't happen often.
We're talking about a wrist surgery that keeps him out for months too.
Yeah. Like when it comes to Milan though, injuries, COVID tests, when it rains, it pours. And I think this just really is going to cast an even more brighter light, as I previously said, on the defense primarily, but also Stefano Pioli. I mean, I can't really pinpoint how many, I guess, runs of matches he's had a full-ish squad. It's always been 2 to 3 guys out, and then the next week 2 to 3 guys come back, and then it's 1 or 2 guys out. This guy, if he's still able to weather the storm through this into January, and Milan are like top 3, 2 still, maybe even first, dare I say? Tip of the cap. What else can you use against Pioli if you're a Pioli denier at that point?
He's hurt. I mean, I don't know. We kind of talked this with John Solano on the State of Play podcast. And we literally, and I was kind of explaining it to him, and I totally understood his point because of the reputation that he has as a manager, I was just like, again, how many times has he had a squad this deep? How many times has he like finally adjusted to this? And it's not to use this or talk about this. Like, sometimes when you have something happen like the Davide Astori thing, your life can change and your perspective can change in general when you're that close to somebody. And that happens. And the thing is that people genuinely think still to this day that the person you are years ago or today is the person that you're going to be the rest of your life. And the same applies to a manager. That's not true. People develop and get better as a manager. If that was true about Jose Mourinho, he wouldn't be at Roma. If this was
Yeah.
true about Carlo Ancelotti wouldn't have gone to Everton. If managers are always the same person that they are, then they would be. But they aren't. So at the end of the day, and Carlos will get out with the hashtag Martino tweets there, but it's true. Because at the same time, if you're kind of warped in this, tunnel vision of thinking coming across as, hey, Pioli is only going to be this one type of manager. His teams start out great and then they flare out. Well, now, Matt, we're here about his third season in, right? Second full season. And look what we're dealing with here. Yeah. Starting out undefeated again. Maybe some unfortunate injury issues. COVID is just its own beast at the end of the day. All teams across the world are going to be dealing with this. Listen, I wanted to say this heading into the Verona match, and everyone's really hysterical. This is more than a good enough team that they're putting out there starting 11-wise to win this game. Like, there isn't a bunch of scrubs in here. Tatarusanu is more than good enough to win this. The defense is fine. Paulo Torre is just getting his second game in, right? So just give him a little bit of a break and a breather. He's good enough to come in and beat Verona. You have the starting midfield. I get you're missing Brahim Diaz. They're not going to start Krunic in this game, Matt, as the number 10, simply because he's coming off injury. So he's not going to risk him. So you start Daniele Maldini. I think you see Krunic feature later on within the match. You still have at least your 2 starting wingers, and you get your striker back. So what am I missing ahead of today's match, Matt, that everybody's so hysterical about? Because I kind of don't understand it for today. Porto Tuesday is a different conversation midweek. Today, I think it's okay.
Well, and this is something I've been thinking about too. I think the main issue or concern people have is, yes, Milan have gotten all the results they've pretty much wanted this entire season, right? Not including Champions League, obviously, but in the league situation, Milan have done the job, right? Yep. They've been good. They're unbeaten, right? That's perfect.
Yep.
But I think people are looking at the injuries pile on, the positive COVID tests, the players coming in and out of the squad, not being certain as to who's going to start and be available for certain games. It feels like it's always kind of, is Giroud going to be available? And then he's on the team sheet and you're like, okay, I guess he's available, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the main concern that fans have is, when are Milan, when are a little bit of that luck is going to wear off a little bit? Like, when are Milan going to come back to a little bit of reality and like, okay, like this was bound to happen. They're going to drop points somewhere because the players that they need are their main guys are out, and the guys that the fill-ins are not as good or serviceable, but they're going to have slip-ups. Like, can you keep going to the well and expecting Daniele Maldini to pull out goals? Can you keep expecting Paulo Torres of the world and all these sorts of guys to just perform and have Pioli push the right buttons on every single guy that he has? That's what I think fans are looking at. And that's kind of my concern. Would I be surprised if we go into this Verona game and we draw? Not really. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but something's got to give. Like, there's teams with far more depth, not far more depth, but more players at their coach's disposal that are still dropping points to some of these teams. We've seen Juve look poor. They've been pretty healthy for the most part. Inter, and these teams are still kind of slipping up a little bit. People are looking to, when is that going to be for Milan? When are Milan going to have that kind of fall back? And, I'm confident in the guys because I think they deserve my confidence, and they deserve the fan base's confidence because of the results we've had. But I think that's what the fans' main concern is right now.
I think it's silly to not on your end. Yeah. I think it's kind of silly if some fans do like the Juve and the Inter thing, because you want to know why? Because Inter has lost 2 great players, arguably world class at their positions. They get a new manager in there. There's a lot of rotation going around. They have had some injuries. It takes some time adjusting, and Inter's still undefeated in the league, right? It's just visually like we see them letting in a lot of goals, and it's just clearly not the same dominant team as last season. But guys, we all know Inter was not going to be that again. That just was the thing that was going to happen.
Napoli too. Another injury to Meta.
Well, yeah. Even then, my thing with Juve is too, like, even if Juve was picking up points recently, they still don't look that good. They had a great win against Chelsea. Kudos to them.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Right? Not going to take that away from them. But if we're talking in terms of Serie A, I listen, you could take the 3 points, you could do well, but even Allegri's been talking about it and saying it. We're sitting here seeing where he's trying to start Bernadeschi and Chiesa tomorrow against Roma. Like, if Allegri's hand is forced to do something like that, that kind of shows where Juve is at as a squad. Kulusevski's left out of this rotation. Morata's obviously been injured. Dybala's been injured. But at the same time, maybe Juve has had a little poor luck. But after what I saw for the past decade, when Milan and Inter were down on their asses, I mean, doesn't get luckier than that if you're Juve, right? Because you essentially turn into Bayern Munich. So for me, I'm not concerned about today. I'm concerned about the longer run and bigger picture of things.
Yeah, of course.
I am concerned when Milan run into, Juve or Roma and, Mirante or Tatarusano is magnified. And albeit too, Matt, and I'll say this, and I'll give Tatarusano, I still don't love the guy, but I give him this. His worst match was against Roma, where he found out the day of in terms of preparation, right? You should always be prepared as a professional regardless, right? Eli Manning had one of the best quotes I think I've ever heard in sports is when he was said prior to that game against the Patriots, when they faced the undefeated Patriots, basically like, guys, if a good Roma side came in and beat, or a decent Roma side came in and beat like the invincible Milan side in a winner-take-all Champions League final. That's what that was. But basically what Eli Manning's quote was saying is that, hey, I don't feel any pressure because of the preparation I've had. If I'm prepared and I know what I need to do for this certain match, then there's no pressure needed because I know everything I need to do. I just got to go out there and play. Tatarusano was not prepared for that. And you could see it by the mistakes that he made in that match. He did rebound the rest of the season whenever he was called upon, and he played fine. It wasn't like he was anything horrendous for every single start that he had, like the Roma match. That wasn't the case. Again, bigger picture, it's nail in the coffin in the CL. That's what it is. I think that's, for me, the biggest issue. Yeah. And it's going to be Napoli match. Like, Matt, listen, if we go into the Napoli match, we have everybody but Mike Maignan at the goalkeeper position. Do you think we can get something out of the Napoli match?
Yeah.
I say maybe. Yeah. I think we can get a draw. Okay, so my question to you is it that bad then if we're saying that's a possibility? I don't think the situation is as dire as it needs.
It's really hard to say, right? Because today's test is going to be really telling, right? Yes, it's Verona. It's not, top side. It's not a Champions League side. We know that. But these next couple weeks, right, where Milan are seeing what Tatarusanu can do, what Mirante can do, what type of performances are they going to put in? Are we going to expect them to make the big drastic saves that save Milan points and win Milan games like Gigio and Mike Maignan have done? Mike Maignan in that game against Samp to start the season, we won 1-0. Brahim scored, but without Maignan saves, we probably draw that one, right? Because he had 2 or 3 key saves in that game. So that's where the margins are so fine, right? Because even the game against Spezia, we had to get a late goal, right? We had to get a late goal. So there are these matches where even when Milan are healthy, they're kind of skirting on by and getting results when they're not at their best.
I think that match was just condensed schedule to the max, by the way.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying to you is there's a quality in this team that despite maybe not having the full roster, they have that sort of it factor about them, and they've had it since last year.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. I thought it was
I feel like they'll be okay. But as I'm saying, these next couple matches are going to really truly tell us the makeup and the mental strength of this team. Because if you're a player, yes, to your point about the Eli Manning quote, which is a great quote, preparation, right? You got to be ready to have your name called and to get like Brahim in that game, right? Yep. He probably thinks he's getting the whole entire day off.
Both of the goal scorers.
Decisive goal, right? Like preparation. So Tatarusanu, to your point, has had some days here I'm starting this game. I'm going to start a lot of games here. Dante, like there's expectation, and I've been saying it from the very beginning, and then I'll pass it back over to you.
Mm-hmm.
With this team, there seems to be this next man up mentality that they have. One guy goes down, all right, who else are we putting in there? That guy's going to do the job. Maldini did it. This guy gets injured, who's going to come in at right wing? Krunic last year against Verona came in, scored the winner. Crucial result. So that's what it's going to have to be here in the goalkeeper position. But it's a little bit more different because it is a goalkeeper versus like a midfielder, outfield player where you can kind of maybe disguise him and hide his weaknesses in a match. Goalkeeper, it's kind of on your own, right? Like, can you make the save or can you not make the save? We're talking about a 30-something-year-old compared to a 25, 26-year-old in Milan. So that's what we're going to have to look at here.
Admiral, I said I'd keep it on I'll have it on during the stream. I did have it on during the stream for over 20 minutes, so we're good. I think you're right again. And the X Factor thing and them being there and going through a situation like this still doesn't even compare to last year. Last year was a disaster. Like, this is annoying. But we're talking about guys that are asymptomatic with COVID, and Teo and Brahim. Brahim's asymptomatic. I know that for sure because he tweeted out and said, I'm okay. Teo, I'm under the assumption that he is. And even again, that you mentioned with the Spezia match, both number 10s. Daniele Maldini, that's a lot of pressure being prepared and ready to go where you score a header. By the way, scored again during the international break, another header. So it's kind of a trend for him. Even though Derek, my man, is not very fond or doesn't have a lot of confidence in Maldini. I love the puppies going off. They're going crazy. Saturday morning puppy noise. My Ivy was going crazy before. It's okay. I did have the wig on for 20 minutes, Vito. I think he came in at the perfect time. Vito hates the wig. He's in here, so ciao, Vito. Petrit says, Maldini is so underrated. I think we have a Dybala-style player in him. Ooh. You and Derek need to talk it out. That's not our Petrit belief.
Is that, like, he's from a positional standpoint, he is a player that can go wide. He can play centrally. He can play as like an attacking mid. And when I look at Dybala, like, I'm not saying he's Dybala. Like, let's be clear. I'm not saying he's Dybala.
Bro, if he turns out to be Dybala, Milan's going to win multiple.
If he turns out to be like 3/4 to half the player Dybala is, like, when we know Dybala is playing well, then that Milan have a good player. Right?
Dybala, yeah, you're talking about a top 10 player in Serie A then. If he's 3/4, right? Yeah.
But you know, he's versatile, right? I think you could see him like it's just weird seeing like Maldini on the back of his shirt and just him not playing a defensive role. It's just weird to me. I don't know. Like, just seeing him kind of be forward, and I don't know. But it says something, right? That Pioli's giving him the confidence or is giving him that opportunity to just play key minutes. I don't think anyone anticipated him playing this much of a role. But it's something to be said, right? He did come on in the Champions League for a little bit. He did make the Champions League roster. He is getting minutes in Serie A. The only way you know if the player is quality or what he's able to offer you is if you give him that opportunity. And we have the graphic up here.
Yeah, but I gotta address it. My man Derek, who's usually an eternal optimist. Yeah, this is so harsh. Derek, bro, my guy, he stepped up, he produced.
Yeah. If he doesn't,
it's not his fault. Then, like, he's good enough, Derek.
Yeah.
Like, he scored. He scored. I get what you're saying. I get what Derek's saying. It definitely, and people think it comes off as nepotism. I totally understand that. There's players that you need to keep within the team sheet. There's obviously players that you need to, loan out to get the experience, like a Colombo, like a Pobega. Like Maldini, I guess within the area that they had, they needed to do this. And listen, it's worked so far. Have we said that Daniele Maldini experience has failed? I'd say no. I think it's exceeded expectations because who expected him to score? And it was the difference in the match, Matt. That's 3 points for Milan.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Because even if Brahim did get the winner, the difference is the game was 2-1.
Yeah.
So those goals weighed heavily. Maldini was the reason that they picked up 3 points instead of getting a draw. One of the main reasons besides Brahim, even if he was lackluster. Starts again, Matt. Serie A with the number 10. Rebic is going to be on the left. They said he didn't complete training yesterday, but it seems as if he will be good to go. Shout out to Ahmad for making the graphic. Greatly appreciate you. It's beautiful every time. I discussed this with Vito. Vito said that Benacer will be in instead of Tonali because Tonali was playing a lot during the international break where he balled out. Once again, shocker. I was talking to our boy Carlos last night late. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see it?
No.
Our boy Carlos, who still said, this guy, what cojones this guy's got on him. He goes, yeah, Tonali still have been overhyped this season. This guy, on brand. Good for him, I guess. But he started a new job, so that's why he wasn't in here. So shout out to Carlos. Hope you're doing well. Kessie Benacer. Ballatore obviously getting the start at the left back. Yeah. Romagnoli keeping his position there. Captain, a lot of positive news coming out from his camp and everything there. We'll see with the whole Raiola thing. But again, it's a great start to the season for him. So happy for him. Fikayo Tomori, absolute baller. Davide Calabria left camp as precaution with Italy. Got in a little bit, few minutes, and that loss to Spain. Oh well. Tatarusano in goal. Good enough to beat Verona, who lost a lot of key players from the last time we played them, Matt. And again, last time we played Verona, they were on the downswing. They don't have Juric anymore. And we beat them 2-0 with the free kick goal from Master Krunic and then Diogo Dallo. So, yeah, the 11. Go ahead.
I mean, it's probably as good as of 11 you can hope for given the circumstances. I mean, when you take out Teo and Brahim, you obviously feel their absences in this squad. That goes without saying. I mean, Teo, we know what he does on the left-hand side. We've seen what he did for France and route to them winning the Nations League. You know, just very huge difference makers. I think the key player in this, and there's many areas or directions I can head with this, but I think it's Giroud, right? Because I think that in the game against Bologna, where he scored 2 goals in front of the San Siro crowd, that gave fans like a sign of things to come, right? Like, okay, this is the player you can expect. Like a cool finisher, takes his chances from the spot, invites players into the attack, brings players into the game, builds that confidence and that cohesion there. But he hasn't been that. I know he's been injured, and I get that, and COVID and all that stuff.
Back issues.
When he has played, he hasn't really been a factor as much as I would have hoped. So in a game like this, where you don't have Brahim, you don't have Leao, you're missing some players. You're missing Teo Hernandez, who is an offensive-minded player from a left-back position. Giroud's going to have to be Giroud if Milan want to break down a team like Verona. Because the way I see these games going is, okay, Verona identify that Milan don't have their full roster here. Right out of the international break, they have a goalkeeper that's, older and he's not known by any stretch. Let's see if we can make it an aggressive push to get a goal or something. But there's always that opportunity potential that they're just going to sit back and absorb and just get tons of guys behind the ball. Giroud's going to have to be that focal point. He's going to have to probably, in my eyes, get a goal or close to a goal or an assist here. He's going to have to be one of Milan's best 3 players on the day is what I'm saying. For Milan to get the result they want. If that makes sense. I'm not saying he has
I get what you're saying.
Goals,
I get what you're saying. And I understand.
He has to have an impact, because if he doesn't have an impact, we see how Rebic kind of goes in and out. He has games where he looks very good and games where he looks lost. Maldini's still young. You don't know what you're getting from him. And Salamakers doesn't have that end product, that goal contribution level in his game just yet. Good player in his own.
We'll talk about him in a few minutes after this.
So Giroud's got to be good today. He's got to be good, and I do anticipate him being good with the international break, with him not being rushed back to play like a substantial amount of minutes. He should be well rested, and I think Pioli's going to look to him to be and to lead by example in this one.
By the way, I think quick correction. It was Cadieri with the double that he had. I think he said right, Bologna. Yeah. You're good. We play Bologna soon. Champions League, totally understand. I think it's warranted with the criticism on Giroud. a real tough match with Atletico. Not much you could do there.
Yeah.
Still coming off the injury, not 100% healthy.
Mhm.
Obviously, he would have started in that. I think he's been fine in Serie A. I think he's been productive there. Again, this is hold up play. This is where it comes in key, Matt, where I would have been a little bit more worried if we didn't have a true number 9 up top. By the way, Ibra is called up for this match. I don't think he should feature in it unless it's in the last 10 minutes
No.
or so, just to get him
Give
out there.
Pellegrini.
I don't think.
Give Drew the most minutes, and then just bring on Pellegrini if he
I
needs to.
agree with you. He needs to help make Maldini better in this, and that's kind of what this leadership comes into. I could see even again something very similar to what happened against Spezia with Maldini. He comes out early on in the second half.
Yeah.
Krunic comes in, takes a spot there. I think that's what's going to happen ultimately. Benacer and Kessie, man, I think they could dominate today, man. I really do. I really do think this is like the turning point. I think Kessie's starting to slowly turn the corner in terms of playing for us. Whatever contract talks, don't want to do it. Benacer been an absolute beast and demon this season. I think he's just going to be able to. They're going to be able to control this match, and that's the real important thing. I think they're both that good.
It's. I agree with you, and not to cut you off, Marty, but I agree with you. Like,
Sure.
Kessie played really well against Atalanta. Benacer has been 1B, right? He's probably been a little bit, maybe a little slight notch below Tonali this year when we're talking about midfielder performances, right? But Benacer has been the consensus top 1-2 midfielder for us. We can agree on that, right? It's been Tonali, Kessie. I mean, Tonali, Benacer, and then Kessie's kind of like right there.
I mean, he just by default. I mean, we're not who we're gonna go with.
Well, no,
Bakayoko gone.
In that pecking order. But I think you're right. I think the midfield will be okay. I think defensively, I have no reason to doubt this defense. Ballatore aside,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Always been good. Calabria's been good. The midfield is that's a great midfield pairing right there. It's, can we break down Verona? Can we make the most of our chances? Will we be wasteful? Right? Because that's always been somewhat of a concern against some of these teams in recent years. Is like, we can have a ton of chances, we have a ton of shots, but we score like 1 goal. Remember the game against Spal 2 seasons ago?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we drew. Right?
Yeah.
So,
but that was also like the goals that they scored were such bullshit.
Of course,
like
it was
it flow?
I don't want it to be that sort of game. Like, I would love for Milan.
You got the PTSD. I got you. I agree with you. You got. I have a hint of PTSD. You have a hint of PTSD from this morning.
Yeah,
you really do. I feel it. I sense it from you. I know what you don't want. I just think again, the only way you lose is if someone scores on you. So my question to you is, how the hell is listen, Verona could easily score on us. We saw what happened with the Spezia thing.
Yeah.
But I just like to ask, with a rested squad like this that's ready to go, Tomori, Romagnoli not really playing with the national team, same with Ballatore, Calabria, and Ocasio and Benacer, obviously key cogs within their sides. We're talking about Rebic not getting called up, Salamakers getting some burn, obviously, with the national team. Roberto Martinez has some good quotes to say about him. Olivier Giroud isn't getting called up to the French national team. I mean, Maldini did have his burn, but that's just good experience. The kid is 20 years of age. Recently celebrated a birthday. Happy birthday to him. Admiral, I mentioned it. I guess you missed it. We'll talk about him later with Salad. But Leao for me, interesting question here. Do you agree with him not playing? Maybe he is a little bit tired. I think we kind of saw that within the recent matches. He is called up to this.
Yep.
We have most of our attack. The whole attack is there outside of Brahim Diaz. Excuse me. So, again, I think even then, this is the great part too that everyone is kind of slowly freaking out about. And I want to make this point to everyone. We are not tied and married to the 4-2-3-1 this season. We've seen it at multiple times throughout the season so far. Champions League matches, Serie A matches. We're not married. We're not married to this. There's been 3 at the back. We've had wing backs. We've had 2 strikers playing off of each other.
We've had Benacer, Kessie, and Tonali on the same time.
Exactly, and that's something we could see again today. I'm just saying, don't freak out too much about the number 10. It's not necessarily married to the number 10. We could see Leao featuring here. Would you have started Leao on this? I think there's a reason behind it.
It's hard to say. I mean, Leao did get the call up to the Portuguese national team, so big shout out to him. He's so deserving. I'm actually really happy because I know we've kind of been critical of Leao really since the launch of this entire podcast, but more so because we expect more from him, right? And then now that obviously he's turned a corner, turned a new leaf, he's been really playing electric football, and he gets that well-deserved call to the Portuguese national team, and he did play this past international break. Like he did get some run in the team. So with that being said, I think it's not the worst thing to have Rebic start the game. And then to your point, like there's a really good chance that they just pull Maldini after 55, 60 minutes, Leao comes on, and then those two players are interchanging, right? Like Rebic, Leao. Leao's such a versatile attacking player. He can pass. He's got the ability to see things maybe other players in the squad don't. He can
a good international debut for Portugal.
He's got so much ability and quality that you can bring on Leao, and we've seen it, right? How many times have we seen Leao come on for like 25, 30 minutes?
Especially a match dominated.
Yeah. The Atalanta game, maybe he started that one. I think he started that one.
He started that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But and then
I get your point.
Fine goal, right? We've seen him come off the bench in games and look like probably Milan's best attacking player. So don't panic, guys. Like if you don't see him on the team sheet now, like he's gonna come on. He's gonna be one of the first one or two names off the bench for Milan.
Derek, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I will. I was one of the advocates for this guy. I said, holy crap, can we like just chill out for a little bit? Yeah. Because the standard raised for him as opposed to every other player that we signed around that age is ridiculous. The same thing that we did with Tonali as well. Yeah. Tonali is listen, I mean, you can't really compare targets. I mean, teammates and positions, so it's a little different, obviously. But again, just like talent-wise, they're both elite talents, Tonali and Leao. And sometimes it takes time. Leao's good, this league is not easy to develop as a youngster. It takes a while. And if you do, you're probably one of the most elite talents in the world, for sure, right? Not everyone's Victor Osimhen, right? Comes in, impact day one. Listen, like Victor, in my opinion, Matt, is the best U23 talent that's in the league by far. And it's no disrespect to Tonali. It's no disrespect to Leao. He's that good. He's that good.
Yeah, he's fantastic. With it's interesting with Leao too, right? Because there's a little bit more of a maturation in his game that I've noticed. Like there's a lot more purpose behind what he's doing. A lot of times you would see in previous years where he's just dribbling and lose the ball and the interest isn't there. And you're like, why is this guy doing this in this situation when he can just play a simple pass to someone and keep the pressure on? When he comes on, there's like a confident, arrogant swagger to his game where he knows he's going to come on and he knows he's going to make a difference and he can make a difference. And I think a game like this is just it's going to call for him. He's going to get a good run. He's going to come off the bench in the second half. And look, I was when it came to Leao.
It's just a Derek call. I just pull it up. You don't have to read every comment I put. You're good.
I sometimes get sidetracked when I'm.
I know you do. I know. That's why I'm telling you. Don't worry about it.
But yeah, I think that look, this just goes to show you that you have two players that there are people who are very much divided on at the end of last season. I don't know, like Tonali, should we pay the money to Brescia? Which was always going to happen. They were just trying to reduce it.
I don't know. Should we rob them? We robbed them. We mugged them in the middle of the night.
And then people were questioning, like, I don't know, like, should we sell Leao? Like, take what we can. And I'm like, no, because the guy is too talented. He's going to go to a team. He's going to get real run and real burn. And he's going to put up good numbers. And people are going to say, man, Milan, can't believe they traded and got rid of another guy.
Did we not even say we both played devil's advocate and we said, okay, how about this, guys? If he has to absolutely stay one more season, which we were right about, and we also said, okay, if he shows you nothing, if there's no real progression again, right? Like kind of what we saw within the second half of the season, and to be fair, he was out of position and it proved to be right. Again, how many times were we told, oh, he's a striker? He's not a striker. He's a left winger. How many times we had to say it? He was playing center forward, second striker at Lille. And I still get idiots trying to tell me he was a number 9. Has it been painfully obvious yet?
he played as a second striker even when Giampaolo was here. Like in that 4-3-1-2, he was a second striker.
Just tired of the idiots.
Yeah.
And it's one account on Twitter, and it's my fault for always going at him. So yeah, again, listen, he's shown it. He's still got to show a lot of consistency. He's doing well with it. Now we'll finish off the rest of this episode, which is little congratulations to probably the epitome of what this new management has been looking for in players and buy low, no name players. And that's Alexis Salamaker's extended to 2026. Listen, whatever your opinion is of this guy, in terms of what you think he'll ultimately be, whether or not you think he's a good player, whether you think he's a bad player. If you think he's a bad player, I think you're way too harsh. And I think you got to pay a little bit more attention to what he brings to the table. Okay? When people say they like Alexis Salamakers, it doesn't mean they think he's going to win a Ballon d'Or one day. When they say they like Alexis Salamakers, they don't think he's going to be scoring over 20 goal contributions for Milan. They don't think that he's going to be absolutely dynamite in the Champions League and be this ultimate, FIFA Team 11 of the Year type player. That's not what a lot of people are saying. What we are saying is this. He's a more than serviceable player. He's a versatile player. He is someone who fits into the modern game that does unreal pressing consistently. So for me, Matt, what I am saying is this. Alexis deserved this extension. He didn't cost him that much. And we're talking about a player, 7 million euros combined with the 3.5 million initial and then the 3.5 million buyout. He's already exceeded that. Depending on who you ask, he's probably going to be sold. If he were to ever be sold, he would go over or close to 20 million euros, especially when you see Patrick Cutrone going for what he went for with Wolves. He deserved this extension. He's good enough to play at Milan in certain matches, especially a match like today. And honestly, it's deserved because he constantly proves people wrong. Whether or not I think he's going to be a 10-goal-a-guy season, I don't think so.
He has to be that. I'd love him to be.
And exactly. He does not have to be to make an impact. How many times do we have to say this?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because how fascinating it is at the time of his arrival, we also had Simon Kjaer come in, right? And you got two starting players essentially for around 12 million combined ballpark number, right? Around there. 12 million. You have, not saying I particularly agree with where he's at in that ranking, but Simon Kjaer is a Ballon d'Or finalist, right? Like,
I mean, listen, on his best day, warranting
Milan
that.
got him and Salamakers for, in this market, nothing, right? You got a young player who's grown into a starter, not just for you, but for the national team. And I found it interesting that, for all the criticism that he gets, his coach, Stefano Pioli, his international coach, Roberto Martinez, always sing his praises. Is it because he's a runner, he just works hard? There's something to be said about what he provides. Maybe if it's not goal contributions, it's something else that allows other players in this squad to flourish and to have the games that they do. Wink, wink, Davide Calabria, right? How important has he been since his arrival for Calabria's growth? Having him be able to track back and cover some of that defensive obligation, right? So, in short, just to kind of keep it brief here, I'm delighted for this, and it's something that happened behind the scenes. I'm looking on my Instagram account yesterday, and I scroll. I'm like, wait, Salamakers? Did they just randomly post like a Salamakers appreciation post about him? And then I look, and I'm like, I went on Twitter, and I saw like the official announcement. I'm like, oh, we renewed him, and it was pretty relatively hush hush behind the scenes. And I'm like, oh, to 2026, that's refreshing to see a player that's grown with us that is committing to the club, and the club is committing to him by giving him that renewal. So I'm just excited to see him be a part of this club. I'm excited for his growth to just continue to surprise us, because I think we're still starting to learn what type of player he is, what his ceiling is, what sort of things he needs to work on, what sort of things has he grown with. And I think, guys, like, Martino just mentioned it. He's not a world beater. I'm not saying this guy is going to be a 10 goal, 10 assist guy, and he's going to be just absolutely dominating Serie A. Can he be a player that scores 4 to 5, 6 goals and gets you 4 to 5, 6 assists in a season? I think it's there. I think he's also surrounded by much better players. He's growing as a player. He's fitting and very much comfortable in this system that eventually he'll kind of have a little bit of a breakout. I'm not saying he's going to put up big numbers, but it's only natural with young players that you see from season to season, like another goal or two, another assist or two, and just natural progression in his game. So kudos to him. He deserves it. And I'm just hoping that the fans get behind him as well. And, his renewal, because I think he definitely does deserve it.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Antonio, the emotional guy. He's from the group chat and all that. So yeah, listen, well deserved by him. Great job by management doing this very quickly. Funny enough that Kessie liked the post.
Real quick, can I just make one more point too? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I saw there was what's his name? Gian from Sempre Milan. Right, I can say that on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
He had a good tweet. He had a good tweet, saying that if you noticed, Tonali, a lot of these other guys that were Maldini signings have signed renewals, and it's kind of just gone on as business as usual. The guys that were pre-Maldini signings, they've made really difficult and challenging
because you want to know why, and it's a perfect thing, and I know you know it, and it's just like the perfect explanation for it is, and I've had this conversation with him as well, and it comes down to this, and we did this in Spaces. I said this. When you have guys, and we said how many times we say this on this podcast, I'm going to lose my damn mind for the amount of times I said this. When you have idiots, morons, jerks, stupid, ignorant bums like Mirabelli that have no clue what they're doing in these negotiations, because if Maldini was negotiating the initial contract extension in 2017 with Gigio Donnarumma would still be a Milan player today. Kessie would have extended already. These contracts would not have been given to these players. So when players are sitting here that were signed under previous management for a certain amount of money, the vision is clearly not the same with Maldini and Masada like these guys, right? With Mirabelli, they were not on the same eye level and viewpoint. So when someone gets signed for a certain amount of money, they come in and they're going to negotiations. Yes, we do like you as a player, but we do not value you the same way, wage-wise, as previous management. And that's the difference between the two. Yeah. And it's clearly worked for Milan. They're still interested in Teo extended. Everybody saw the Leao news where they want the 200 million euro release clause. Still 800 million euros less than Pedri's. Still, I think this is a telling thing, and it's a great point by Gian. Obviously, good dude. Again, this is what happens when you get your guys. Everybody's on the same page. Everyone wants to be here. Tonali, same thing. I think. Sorry, go ahead.
And there's been we've been harping on it. We've been touching on it. We saw that we AC Milan are back. Thing that the fans greeted Maldini and management with. In the fire. That was like a great sight to see in the summer. But there's a professionalism. There's a respect factor here that Milan management and Milan as a club lost in previous years, and now has got back. We had the conversation with Solano on State of Play a couple weeks ago, and he talked about Mazzara. How of a class gentleman he is, a very astute director, very respected. Maldini, very respected. And there's a way about them and a way they go about doing things that is not so emotional, reactionary, and finicky and panicky and chaotic. It was that summer with those two, Fassone and Mirabelli, it was a frenzy. Them saying things, then them speaking to this guy, them traveling everywhere, throwing cash around. It's almost like they were rich dudes in a strip club. Be honest here. Throwing around money, giving people contracts. Here, you get it. And we'll do it now and we'll ask questions later. Type.
Honestly, I think you tweeted the video once. The best thing is literally Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber.
Just giving
Like,
out money.
just giving out the money that's not
Giving out money.
yours, and it's not meant for that.
There's a more calculated approach with how renewals are done, with the fees that go out to players, with the way just management does business.
Yeah.
How many times on some of these deals have Milan operated and be like, wow, Milan got really like they got shafted here. They got shafted on this deal, on this transfer fee. And people always say they're being stingy. No, they're trying to get good deals. We're just not used to seeing a management work to get good deals in Milan.
People just have there's a lot of people who came in at a weird time at Milan and think that was like the standard and the way things went. And you know what? It's just not true. And whatever. That's on you for being ignorant. Admiral, the weather's very nice in the tri-state. Very nice. It's been very nice the past couple of days.
Going golfing tomorrow, by the way. Who was the one who mentioned the U.S. Was it the U.S. Ryder Cup or U.S. Open a couple weeks ago?
I don't know who mentioned Ryder Cup. That's a couple weeks ago, man. I don't know the
exact person that did it.
All right, everybody, get your predictions in for the match before we get Ramble Tangelo back for a little bit here.
Yeah. Back.
So obviously, everyone just follow Matt on Twitter at Matt_Santangelo while you get all these predictions in here. You can follow me on Twitter at Martino Puccio at MilanoReports.com. Has been here on the ticker the entire episode. You go follow Vito on Twitter at Vito Angele. New job for me, working at 1:37 p.m. In New York. It's remote work. But again, if you've noticed and seen everything, I have been pushing the Twitter nonstop at PF137PM. Is the Twitter account. We are still too young to apply for verification, but we will be going for that next week. Had over 100 and something followers. You go and follow us on TikTok. If you do have TikTok and like TikTok, it's at football. So FUTBOL on there for TikTok, and on Instagram at Proper Football. The Facebook page also, by the way, before Vito, I could forget, we're going to be tweeting it out, and we will be going live on that as well when we get that later. I got to talk to Wedgie about it. So it's great. So 1:37 p.m. Dre. So we're just basically like a multimedia company. Basically, like it's also a site as well. We do a bunch of things in terms of podcasting, which we'll have Matt on eventually to do like some stuff like interview. We're going to have Sean McIntosh of Charlotte FC, as you guys have seen him on here before. He is the chief fan officer of that club. So we're going to have an interview with him on Tuesday. So that's going to be great to have him on there. Once more things get settled in and I get settled into my job, we'll see a lot more content. I have been pushing a little bit of Milan stuff on the Twitter account. So you'll see a bit of that, but it's going to be everything in terms of football with there. It's super exciting. I'm just been working super hard, and that's why we started a little bit later today. You could probably see in my eyes how tired I've been. But yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff like that. If you're interested in NFTs, if you're interested in, all types of stuff, gaming, there's the Discord that you're able to join as well. There's gaming, there's movies, there's UFC, combat sports, there's basketball, all these other things. There's so much stuff. I'm sure, Matt, you've seen some of it already. It's really a lot of fun, and it's only going to be growing. It's basically we're a little bit more tempered and less brash Barstool style. The idea is kind of the same. The concept wise is we're going towards that target audience and interests of similarity with that. But honestly, if you're interested in NFTs and all that stuff, it's probably the main hub for it. And if you know who Gary Vee is, that's one of his companies. He is my supreme boss in general. So yeah, perspective, dude. If you ever seen those videos, have you seen the guys doing the impressions of Gary? It's so funny, man. It's so good. Yeah, perspective. He's a big Jets fan, by the way, too, which is everybody at the company, Matt, is a Jets fan. It's so funny for the most part. Like first meeting, we were just talking about, Martino, will you have a good Sunday when the Jets play? They don't play this week, so I'm definitely going to have a good Sunday, so I don't have to worry about that bye week. Fantasy teams are definitely getting screwed. Not good shape. They're not in good shape. I will say this, though. It's been incredibly amazing to see all the support that I've been getting from everyone in general, and likewise with Matt. We also like to say we appreciate everybody with the FCA support. Unfortunately, we didn't win or get anything out of that. So that's unfortunate. That kind of sucks. But I still think we're the best international podcast out there because we are an international podcast. So I'll throw shade wherever I can with that. Now for predictions. Nate, 2-1 Milan, repeat of Spezia. Derek likes Milan here, 2-0. Derek has 2 goals by Maldini, I assume. Chillis has 3-0. Milan, Romagnoli header, Giroud penalty, Ibra tapping before he takes another month off.
Come on, Chillis. I don't need that last bit.
Those are all for the predictions. Those are all predictions that we got in there. Anything? Do you have a prediction for that? I mean, I don't know if I have a prediction for this. I think it'd be 2-0. Listen, man, we dominated Atalanta. We dominated them. So remember that when we head into a match like this. Yeah, we didn't have Mike, but you got to remember when we dominated a CL level team, once again, we dominated Lazio. We played well against Juve while missing players on the road when Juve were fully rested and had a full squad. Admiral's going 4-4 just because he's a jackass like that. Yeah, man, listen, I really like this squad. It sucks with the Mike Magnon thing. I think that just puts a dent in the title stuff if we had a chance with it. But the goal is top 4. Inter and Lazio play in about 20 minutes or so. Again, I'd like a draw.
Roma Juve too, right?
No, Juve play tomorrow against Roma.
Yeah.
Today is Lazio.
Roma, yeah.
Oh, I meant today.
Yeah. Okay.
I meant today's stuff.
I mean, like I'm talking like this round, right?
Yeah. So again, with that, also, Dybala's not going to be available for that. They don't have Morata. That's why Bernardeschi and Chiesa are going to be interested in that. I mean, listen, anytime we can not have Dybala playing, it's a huge plus for us.
Just win.
Genuinely, don't give
just
it.
Win. Just win. Someone's going to drop points, and Milan win. They're good.
The important thing is, again,
now, against these teams, when those other sides are going up against one another, and then before you know it, you get guys back, and Milan are sitting pretty. Just win. Control your games. Just control your games. Should
Napoli versus Torino. Torino could pull out something.
I expect them to beat Verona. I'm going 2-0. I'm going Rebic, and I'm going Giroud goals. Putting it right now, 2-0. Milan win. They keep it moving because, frankly, what other reason do I have to not have confidence that this team can get a result? What have they shown me in any of the matches this season?
Thank you.
That they're not deserving of it?
Yes, come over to this side. You finally see it fully.
Again, next one up. I think Tatarusanu will make some good saves. I'm not saying he's going to have a world-class game, but I think he'll do the job. The defense will be tidy. It'll be the defense we've seen the entire season. The midfield will run things. That attack has to take the most of its chances. And I actually think that Rebic will get one of his his Rebic type matches. He gets a goal. And I think Maldini gets an assist to Giroud. So I'm going 2-0 Milan.
Man, we could really do well with this stretch in October. Okay. Listen. Maybe we get something out of the Porto match. What I am telling you is this. We have Bologna, Torino, and then Roma. Roma's on Halloween. Listen, man, if we don't lose in Serie A this month, it's a great month considering everything. Excuse me. We already got a couple of the top teams out of the way. Juve, we don't have to worry about. Lazio, we don't have to worry about. Atalanta, we don't have to worry about. Our competitors for the top 4, the only other team that we will be seeing this month, potentially, is going to be Roma. We have to see how Roma do. We could pick up 3 points on Roma, would be massive. We also have to face Napoli eventually, and then we have to face Inter. We'll see what happens. Listen, ultimately, at the end of the day, Matt, when we play in some of these matches, we could be just looking at a loss of just Mike Magnon, and that's it. And again, how many times have we seen Milan win the biggest of trophies with guys that are not the best of the best? And again, I know those are some of the greatest teams of all time, and those outfield players are amazing. But I'm also asking and telling you guys at the same time, those 10 players that we have out in the field are more than good enough to beat up on the likes of Verona. Okay, that's all I have to say. We'll wrap up with that. Really appreciate you guys. We'll see you in a few hours. It's not like one of those things where we'll see you tomorrow after that.
Halftime spaces too, guys. Make sure you guys tune in. I'll probably do it or Martino, but one of us will probably do it.
Yeah, I'll figure it out with some work stuff. I have to do some work after this. I have to post. There's some goals going on. Again, go and follow all that stuff. Yep. Yeah, and other than that, also if you're interested in the Newcastle sale, go listen to that. We had a podcast of State of Play with Elijah Newsham, great guy. Really fun episode to do with him. Talk about the outlook for him. There were some parallels there with the Chinese ownership, except this one's obviously more legitimate and the money is real. But yes, other than that, thank you guys so much. Tune in for the post match and look out for the spaces. We'll let you know all about that. Other than that, see you next time.